Hi class, this is Mr. Merrifield. If you're listening to this, I'm at home with a very, very fun strain of pneumonia. So fun that the first dose of antibiotics didn't take because it was resistant to, so I might be starting a second dose. But anyways, hopefully I'll be back on Wednesday. We'll see though. Anyways, going to cover a few basic things today. This will show up on not the coming CEA, but the third one, the one that's all on geometry. So I'm just going to throw it to you now because I don't think it's too difficult to figure out with me not there. But I did want to make sure that it wasn't just book pages being thrown at you. So anyways, ignore this here. Go ahead and open up to page 35 as well. If you are the teacher playing this video, feel free to pause at any moment, give students time to catch up, open to this page, label this page, catch up on notes, whatever. Anyways, so first section is just going to be kind of like labeling sides, angles, and we'll also talk about kind of like congruence, parallel lines, things like that. But anyways, I'm going to start with just kind of like a basic parallelogram. We'll use that to kind of like reference some stuff. So go ahead and draw a very basic parallelogram. You can draw it 5 over, and we'll draw kind of length of 5, and maybe we'll go up 3 over 4. Place a point right there. Again, I just went up 3 over 4, and we'll go up 3 over 4, like, actually it didn't go over 4. Now it went over 4. There we go. And we'll just connect our endpoints, or to be more specific, our vertices. Alright, from there, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of label the points. We'll call this point A. And you could go A, B, C, D, or A, B, C, D. I'm just going to go in this order, just for the sake of why not. Alright, so from there, we know a few things about a parallelogram. So one, we know that these angles are the same across from each other, and these angles are the same across from each other. So I'm going to go ahead and label, and a good way to do it is you can label kind of like an arc like this, and if they're the same, you can also label it over here. And then I also know these two are equal in measure to each other, so I'm going to put a different set of lines to say we know those are the same. And another way of saying that is if I know that this angle is equal to this angle, I'm going to call this angle right here either BAD or DAB, because you want the center vertice kind of in the middle to say, like, if you were to follow that line, that's the points you would make. So for instance, if I were to label this angle right here, draw my angle symbol, A, or actually I already did it. I'm going to blame the antibiotics. We go B, A, D like that. Alright, from there, you could say that, and again, if you're like, well, why is it not angle DAB? It could have easily been. You can do either. Doesn't matter. So to say they're equal in measure, but not necessarily the same angle, I'm going to do an equal. We'll squiggly line over top. And I'm going to say that it is equal, if we were to find this one right here, we go BCD. So I'm going to go angle BCD. And I'm going to say that means they are the same measure. Or if you want to be very fancy, you can call it congruent. Which basically means if I were to take this and just kind of put it on top, they would be the exact same in length. But they're not necessarily in the same place. Alright, the second thing we could do is, I know that this line here, AD and BC, are going to be parallel, so if you wanted to find that, you can draw it like that, and that's a way to say that BC and AD are parallel. Let me make sure I spelled that right. I think I did. Who cares if I didn't? Alright, anyways. You can also say that AB and DC are parallel, but I would note that they're not parallel to these as well, not to BC and AD. So if AB and DC are parallel, I'm just going to draw a new set of these arrows. So the double lines kind of means, hey, these are congruent to each other, but they're not congruent to that. Alright, the other one you could label is, let's say we had two lines. where I'm going to go ahead and kind of superimpose these. So I'll draw kind of line segment AB. It was up 3 over 4, so I'll draw it there. So this is just kind of segment AB out in space. And I'll also draw kind of segment DC out in space, so I'll go up 3 over 4. Yep, like that. There's DC. We also know from a parallelogram that these are congruent. So what you can do with that is you can just do the same amount of dashes. And so that is like saying segment AB, which you can label like this, is the exact same measure, or if you were to put DC on top of it, it'd just be the same length. So that is like saying these lines have the same length. Alright, and again, if any of this is confusing, we're actually kind of packing down a single lesson into one little note sheet, because I think you're totally fine absorbing it that way. But if there are any questions on it, just ask me when we get back. We'll have some time, especially during one of our Wednesday kind of catch-up times. Alright, on to part 2, which is just, this is also kind of a lesson in one, but I'm throwing you the parts that I think are not going to take that long. We'll call this drawing triangles with given conditions, which is basically like saying if they give you, I don't know, let's use an example with this. We'll say, what if we want to draw a triangle, and I'm shorthanding this to save you some notes, but we'll say with sides, yep, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so if you're doing that, I mean, this one's actually guaranteed to be a right triangle, but we don't need to worry about that now. But you could draw, let's start with kind of the biggest side, and just draw 5 across. And let's go a little bit down. Give yourself some room to go 4 up. Alright, so we're going to kind of fold these sides in, but here's our side kind of taken care of. Let's go ahead and take a look at our 4. So eventually, I'm going to fold it in, but we'll draw kind of like a shadow, like a dashed line of length 4. And then we'll also draw kind of like a dashed line of length 3. And basically the idea is, if I were to take these two little sides here and fold them in like this, they would eventually meet. So I could take this 3, kind of fold it in. I'll fold it into about there. And then I could also take this 4, fold it in, and it could go about there. And this one you won't necessarily know that this is going to form a right triangle, but it will. But anyways, let's see what happens when we can't. So that's kind of like a basic, like obviously Mr. Merrifield kind of situation, but there's a point to this. So we'll say, well, what if we were to try? They said make a triangle with sides 2, 1, and 5. Alright, so here's where we're going to see what it breaks down. So first off, I'll go ahead and draw my length 5. And then I'll say, okay, we've taken care of one of those. Let's draw a length of 2. I'll go 2 up. I should label these 2, 1. And if I were to try to fold these in, I'll kind of draw a little bit thicker of a spot. Say this will kind of reach up to there. And this one will reach up to there. And you can see, can't do it. Alright, and the other idea is, well, what if I made this instead of, I made this 3 and 2. And you can see from there, let's go up 3. I fold it in. I get to about here, 3 over. I go up 2, and I fold it over, and they're exactly flat with each other. So even then, it's still not going to work. I have to go slightly above 2. So basically, if I were to kind of like make a triangle, if we were to go, here's a triangle, let's just draw randomly up like that, and then I can go randomly down like that. We'll call the biggest side A, then B, then C. So basically, if A is our biggest side, A has to be less than, or I think it's more obvious if I say B and C have to be greater than that, because you can see they can kind of have to reach across and meet each other. And if they're not, yeah, they won't work. So with that, hopefully that covers a few things that you'll need, and then that will also cover what you need for the practice. So again, if you have any questions, I hopefully will be back on Wednesday. We'll see how this next dose of antibiotics go. But anyways, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.